What's up everybody? My name is Vincent. Welcome to Cryptolution, where we talk about everything under the moon in the crypto universe. Today's Saturday, August 23rd. Now in today's rare Saturday video for Dog, I only want to focus mainly on charting and analysis because a lot of you have been asking me in my DMs on YouTube and on crypto Twitter, what trends are we seeing for Dog? And most importantly, what are some key indicators to confirm that Dog is in a bullish divergence? What do we need to see? Well, let's make sure that this video is primarily focused on just the Dog charting and analysis. So I want to get right into it. Let's not waste any time. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to join us on X, and please be careful with any of the scammers down in the comments below. I will never reach out via WhatsApp, Telegram, direct messaging, or email. So please be careful and invest safely. Guys and girls, let's get right into it. Okay, before we get into the Dog charts, I want to talk about why I need to make this video today, because I'm actually seeing some leading indicators that we are possibly heading into altcoin season. Now, we've been waiting around 4.5 years, almost 4.5 years for altcoin season to begin. Now, first thing I want to pay attention to is Bitcoin dominance. Have you noticed that Bitcoin dominance is actually now in the red, meaning it's getting closer to our target at around 56%. Now, if we get to 56%, in terms of Bitcoin dominance dropping, that is confirmed the first stage of altcoin season. And not only that, when we look at the altcoin market cap, this is excluding Ethereum, Bitcoin, you can see that right now, the altcoin crypto market cap is getting closer and closer to its previous all-time top. And once it breaks past that, that's the confirmation that altcoin season begins. But also another one is the altcoin season index. It's now ranking number 61. Now we haven't seen ranking number 61 since January 31st of 2025, which was this year. And if this continues to go up to 75, which by the way, this is officially altcoin season, then you can imagine what's going to happen to Dog. But until then, let's focus on the Dog chart. So what am I paying attention to? So obviously I brought up two different bearish patterns, which is the M pattern and the descending triangle pattern. Now the M pattern seems to be kind of invalidated because an M usually kind of dips below right at the end of the M. So this is an M shape, and supposedly this pattern of the M pattern should have dipped right around here, but it did not. We actually saw a pump afterwards. So I think that the M pattern is actually invalidated. But what is validated still to this day is the descending triangle, which is a bearish pattern. That's when the price of Dog continues to show lower highs, but we're seeing a triple bottom as well. The triple bottom is actually a very bullish pattern. And as you can see with the triple bottom pattern, that basically means that the Dog price has hit the support level at around 260 million 3 times. That's a triple bottom pattern. That means that Dog is having a hard time being suppressed by sellers or maybe market makers or manipulators. Is having a really hard time dipping below that because we end up seeing retail buy into Dog. I think mainly due to the fact that it's very easy to buy Dog on Kraken. You don't have to worry about buying lots on Magic Eden. So with that said, what key resistance levels do we actually need to break? Yes, we need to break out of this descending triangle right past this purple line. This is, by the way, only on gate.io, which is the very first chart that I want to share with you. But once we break out of that, actually the main resistance level is a 350 million market cap, and the price of that is 0.0035. That's the key resistance level to see a bullish divergence. Now, could we see something like that? Yeah, we actually could. Now, if you've noticed on the MACD, there is a bullish crossover within the MACD orange line and blue line. Looks like they're about to cross at any moment in time. But also, have you noticed the selling pressure has gotten really, really weak? I mean, think about the buying pressure right here. You see these green histogram bars? Look what happened to the Dog price. Well, if you focus on the red histogram bars, you can see that even though there was a bit of a dip, even from over here all the way up until this point, it really wasn't that much of a strong selling pressure. That means that the selling pressure was weakened because there's a lot of people buying, regardless of what you're seeing in the Dog price. This is why we focus on data and analytics. And I do want to remind everybody that we actually haven't crossed over to the buyer's market, because right now we're still in seller's dominance, in seller's market. So that's why we're below this resistance level right around here. But when we flip past that, you can see something like this. Remember, we want to get as high as levels with this blue and orange line just like this. And in terms of the MACD, if you kind of zoom out, there's actually more upside for Dog. Yes, we're in the seller's market, but look at the upside. So once we flip into the buyer's market, you can see something like this, where these blue and orange histogram lines end up showing parabola events in the dog price. And you'll also see it something like this, where it does reflect into the dog price as well, and even another one like this. I mean, just look at the distance right here between where we are right now all the way to the all-time high in terms of the MACD. That's how amazing the buying pressure can come from at any moment in time. But here's another thing I want to share with you. What happens to the dog price when it hovers above the 20-day moving average? Now, the 20-day moving average is the orange line. Now, notice something. When the dog price was over the 20-day moving average, look what happened to the dog price. It went into a parabolic move. And since then, we haven't really seen the dog price really continue to do that. We did see the dog price around here, and you saw that big pump, but then the dog price stayed below the orange line, which is the 20-day moving average. So really, we're not that far away. We actually need to see the dog price as the first indicator for the dog price to be above the 20-day moving average. And I really want you to pay attention to this indicator, because once the dog price goes above the 20-day moving average, you'll most likely see something like this carry on over here. And what will that do? It would take the dog price immediately to around 600 million market cap, because we would also be breaking past the 350 million resistance level, and that just makes it so in line with what we're seeing the MACD for it to go up. Okay, next up I want to share with you is the dog chart on the Kraken exchange. Now, the reason I want to share this with you is because, to me, I think this is really important. So when the dog spot listing went live on Kraken, it was back on June 27th. But obviously, you always see a capitulation event that happens after a coin is listed on a tier 1 exchange, because what happens is there's usually a dip right afterwards. So here's a great example. When Pengu was airdropped, we also saw Pengu was also listed on multiple tier 1 exchanges, and then you saw a massive dip. You saw a lot of FUD across crypto Twitter, and what happened was people were fading it, but while people were fading and fudding it, there were whales dollar cost averaging buying into it before we saw that the Pengu price was actually going up, and that's why you saw the Pengu price reach new all-time highs. Now, going back to dog on Kraken, what you just saw was the exact same orchestrated attempt, which is when the dog token is listed for spot trading, there's that capitulation event. The thing is, this won't have to take too long, because now we have altcoin season flashing over and over. And when these altcoin season indicators flash, that means you have to be prepared for the dog price. Now, when I'm focusing on just the Kraken chart, again, we've talked about the MACD. It's also showing back over here, very similar to the Gate.io charting and analysis, but pay attention to this. This is a different trend line, meaning that yes, the dog price is very close to being above the 20-day moving average, but the trend line here is much different. Have you noticed that the descending triangle or the descending trend line, which is purple, is actually much closer to the dog price? So in my eyes, you can pay attention to Gate.io, or you can pay attention to this. Once the dog price breaks past this resistance level, which I would pay attention to, then that's probably an earlier signal of dog having a bullish divergence before you see it on Gate.io. So hopefully this video is very helpful for you to understand. I just really wanted to make sure that everybody really gets this whole dog price and where it needs to be, the key resistance levels that we need to reach, and why the dog price needs to be above the 20-day moving average. But just be prepared. This is the very beginning of altcoin season that can go up all the way up until December. Again, I'm sure that the markets will change as the days and weeks and months go by, but I'll try to keep you up to date on a daily basis. So until then, I'll see you next Monday, and as a reminder, I'll be gone on vacation next Friday to go see family. So until then, support the channel by smashing that like button, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to join us on X to receive all of our alpha calls and trades regarding Dog on the Moon. Till then, see you guys girls next time.